So, today on Reddit, someone posted this from 1959 cost of living. 1959 is not the greatest year to use. I actually prefer 1968 because that shows a much more dramatic difference because obviously ups and downs from years to years. Well, I guess the 50s were a pretty good time in general. So a lot of these numbers don't actually make any none of these numbers make any sense. These numbers here from 1959 are meaningless. They literally have no value whatsoever because those are in 1959 dollars and you're not allowed to have 1959 dollars. The only way you're getting 1959 dollars is a DeLorean with a flux capacitor and 1.21 gigawatts of power. Get the 88 miles an hour. So what we have to do is just like, you know, Deutschmarks are useless here in the US, 1959 dollars are useless here in the US. Just like you have to convert your euros to American dollars when you come to America, you have to convert your 1959 numbers to 2022 numbers because we're in 2022. I'm going to show you some interesting numbers here. You can already see them on your screen here. Actually, that would be what, over here? For here? I don't know. Wherever that is. It's one of those directions from your perspective. So, a new house, $12,400. Well, in today's dollars, that's $126,480. And today, a new house is about $160,000. Tennessee and Iowa are going to be your cheapest prices for houses. You can get a house for anywhere between, this is averages, of course, anywhere between $147,000 and $167,000, depending on whether you're having it built or whether you're buying an existing house. The having it built is slightly more expensive than buying an existing house. So 147 will get you an existing house, 167 will get you a new house that you have built. So I'm using $160,000. So what do these lists of numbers I have here mean? Well, the center here is the original 1959 numbers. Left is the 1959 numbers adjusted for inflation. So that's actual. That's what it actually cost in 1959 because you have to convert between the currencies. And on the right-hand side is what those things actually cost today. So you can tell the difference. In order to know whether a price is higher or lower than it used to be, you have to convert the currencies to the same units. So I've converted all those currencies to 2022 dollars. And then we compare that with 2022 prices, which are also in 2022 dollars. So as you can see, houses are a little bit more expensive, but not really that much more expensive. There are three categories that have gone preposterously expensive, and that is housing, education, and healthcare. Those three are not anywhere near the mark of inflation. They're just going crazy. But that's housing as far as renting and leasing. Buying houses is not as preposterous as people think. Sure, if you want a house, outside Philadelphia or outside New York or outside Tennessee, Nashville or something like that, or Houston or Sacramento, yeah, you're going to pay $300,000, $600,000, $800,000 for an existing house. But that's largely because of where those places are. If you go to a more reasonable location in the country, the prices are not nearly as crazy. I mean, 2019, I paid $47,000 for this house, including 1.25 acres of land. Okay, so and I'm right outside Albuquerque. Okay, 24 miles. So you can get reasonable prices. Now, of course, the prices do spike, and we're currently in a spike situation where prices are kind of crazy. But that's your actual number that you would use in this chart here. You're not going to go and find the highest price. You're going to use that number, $160,000. That's what a house will cost you today, relative to what the $12,000 or $126,000 house would have been in 1959. Now, let's skip the next one because we're going to come back to that. New car. A new car in 1959 was $22,950. Today, a new car is $20,000. You can actually get a Hyundai, as cheap as $15,000. But a decent, typical new car, nothing fancy, something that the bottom 50th percentile of the country could afford. You're talking $20,000. You're getting a Kia, a Nissan, a Hyundai, something like that, an Elantra, a Kia Soul, Nissan Sentra. You can by the way, you can look all these numbers up. What site did I get the house prices from. That was from here, homebuyer.com. As you can see, the cheapest price to buy a home is $147,000 in Iowa. The cheapest price to build a home is $167,000 in Tennessee. So your average costs are going to be significantly higher because we're pushing the standards for a house higher and higher and higher. Back in 1959, 1,500 square foot house was an exorbitantly luxurious house. Not many people had 1,500 square feet houses unless they had money. You're looking at, a 3 or 4 bedroom, 1,000 square foot house. Not too dissimilar to what I have here. Cheapest new car, you can see here 10 cheapest new cars in 2022. Nissan Sentra, 20,000. Kia Soul, 20,000. Hyundai, 14 to 20. So, that's what you're going to be paying for a new car today. Gas prices, they're as low as $3.25. Actually, quite a few states are down below $3.50. All these states are down below $3.50. So about a third of the states in the country are below $3.50. So that's where we get gasoline. In 1959, it was $2.55, and today it's $3.25. Not that much higher than it was in 1959. There's other years, like, for example, somebody posted a picture from 1974, and gas was actually more expensive in 1974 than it is today, because the early 70s was right after the oil crisis, and there's a couple inflationary years there where the prices jumped quite a bit. Average rent $990, average rent today $1,100. Not that dissimilar to what it was in 1959. Now, like I said, one of the 3 exceptions, education. Yeah, Harvard, $12,750. Today it's $55,000. But that's actually a little bit deceptive. Harvard should actually be compared to community colleges today, state-run colleges, because Harvard used to be a not-for-profit. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Harvard used to be a not-for-profit. It was prestigious, but it wasn't expensive. So comparing it to Harvard, probably not the best idea. Better comparison would likely be to compare it to your base level 4-year state community colleges that are available today, which is probably not that much less than this. You're probably looking at, $15,000 a year, which is not that much more than Harvard was in 1959. Movie ticket is actually cheaper this now. Your movie ticket today is around $10. In 1959, it was also about $10. First class postage. Up until a couple of years ago, first class postage was pretty much spot on with inflation. But that's a whole big long story about how the federal government's trying to destroy the U.S. Postal Service because, FedEx and UPS don't like Postal Service. So they're trying to make them pre-fund healthcare and retirement and benefits for employees who aren't even born yet. And because of that, they're literally the only company or only organization on the planet required to do that. No other organization anywhere on Earth is required to do this, and that's why the Postal Service is suffering so badly. But that's a totally separate subject. Point is, postage is not outrageous compared to what it was. Now here's the big kicker. You're gonna be like, what the fuck? Food is horrendous right now. No, it's not. Food's cheap. We're gonna get to why you think it's expensive. It's not. Granulated sugar was $9 for 10 pounds. These are all Walmart prices, by the way, for 87015 for my where I live now. So obviously these prices are going to fluctuate wildly all over the country. Granulated sugar, $9 a pound. Today, it's $5.30 a pound. You're probably going to go to Walmart and say, no, it's 6 something a pound. It's weird. Look at the 4-pound bag. The 4-pound bag is cheaper than the 10-pound bag per pound. So if you buy 12 pounds in 4-pound lots, you're paying 53 cents an ounce instead of the 60 something an ounce for the it's $5.30 a pound if you buy the 4-pound bags. Walmart is weird. They do crap like that. Milk was $10 a gallon in 1959. Yes, $1 in 1959 is the same thing as $10 today. You can basically take any 1959 number and multiply it by 10.2. It's actually 10.199 or something like that, but 10.2 gets you close enough. You're going to be within a few dollars. So yeah, a gallon of milk was $10.30. Today, a gallon of milk's $3. Ground coffee was almost $10 a pound in 1959. Today, it's $3.64 a pound. You could buy good stuff for $10 a pound. Bacon, $6.43 today. You know, okay, thick cut bacon. I don't do the thin cut. The thick cut bacon, $4.48 a pound versus $6 a pound in 1959. Eggs are almost spot on the same. I can go to Walmart right now and get a dozen eggs for $2.92. Sometimes cheaper. I wait until the 5 dozen box goes on sale. I can usually get it for around $2 a dozen, $1.60 a dozen. But otherwise, your typical price is going to be about $3 a dozen, and it was about $3 a dozen in 1959. Ground beef, $5.92, almost $6 a pound in 1959. Today, it's under $4 a pound. Right now, in Walmart, $4 a pound for $73.27. The good stuff. Good high fat stuff for making burgers. Bread was a little harder to compare with. You got all kinds of wacky loaves of bread that cost $4, $5, $6 a loaf, and then you have the ultra cheap, white bread, Wonder Bread, white bread you can get for 88 cents a pound or 88 cents a loaf. Yeah, 88 cents a loaf. But the country style bread that Walmart sells and also Smith sells, Kroger's, Smith's, Albertsons, where it's not that garbage white bread, but it's not the fancy bread. It's about $2 a loaf. So bread's about the same. So as you can see, in general, food is actually substantially cheaper than it was in 1959. And cars are about the same price. It's actually slightly cheaper for a new car today. And that's especially telling considering the quality of the cars made today versus the quality of the cars in 1959. I'll take a cheap $20,000 car made today over anything made in 1959, except for maybe like a Chevy Bel Air or something like that. But then again, you're not using that to drive to work. It's a collector's item. But if a Chevy Bel Air was not a wonderfully amazing car in 1959. It became an amazing car later on as it gained collector value. But back then, it was just a regular car. And today, you would not want to buy that kind of regular car for driving around, especially with gas prices the way they are. Then too, it was almost $3 a gallon for gas back then. So, besides a few outliers, what is the huge difference between 1959 and now? Even worse, 1968 and now. What's the huge difference? Why is it such a dramatic difference between then and now? Even minimum wage, it was $1 in 1969. It should be $10 today in 1959 dollars. But instead, we've lowered it. So what's the difference? I'm showing you irrefutably. You can look these numbers up. Here's the site that I got the home prices from. Here's, Google gave me the car prices. AAA gave me the gas prices. Walmart gave me the food prices. If you don't believe me, here's ground beef. Here's ground beef, $3.84 a pound, $4.06 a pound. All right. Here's ground coffee. That's even cheaper, actually. 43. That's actually coffee's even cheaper. You get the McDonald's coffee. Nope, Walmart's still cheaper. 29.2 cents an ounce. So you take 29.2 and multiply it by 16, and that's your per pound price. For coffee, these are your standardized prices. What's milk cost? It should be right around $3. I just took that out of memory, actually. But it should be, yeah, 286. It's actually cheaper than what I listed. Milk is 286 a gallon here, but milk is one of those things that fluctuates wildly. Like I think it's $4 a gallon in Pennsylvania. Um, and I used this here to get the prices. So here you can see we put in the killer number. Okay, there's the killer number, and that's actually wrong. If you look up the history in 1959, a full-time man could expect to get $5,200 a year, which is closer to $53,000 for salary. So here you can see here, where is it here? Right here. Full-time women workers incomes average 3,200 in 1959. For men who worked full-time throughout the year, the corresponding average was 5,200. Back then, most households were single income earner households. Dad went to work 9 to 5, mom stayed home with the 2 kids. That was normal back then. So there's the big difference there. Things aren't getting more expensive. Rent is not more expensive. Houses aren't more expensive unless you're trying to live in an expensive area. But that's a you problem. That's not a housing problem. That's a you problem. Cars aren't more expensive. Tuition isn't that much more expensive if you go to a community college. Movie tickets are the same price. Gasoline's only slightly more expensive. In fact, gasoline was about this price 8 months ago, before the oil companies decided to start price gouging everybody. Postage is not much more expensive, and food is actually substantially cheaper than it was in 1959. An exception to that would be fast food. That's probably quite a bit more today, but it's not that much more. For example, in 1972, a KFC family meal was $4 or $28 in today's dollars. Now, you go to KFC today and that family meal is $34. But that's not where it ends, because that family meal comes now with 12 pieces of chicken instead of 10, comes with 3 large sides, same 1 pint size, instead of the 2 large sides you got in 72, and you get a half a gallon of soda with it. So when you factor in the 2 extra pieces of chicken, the 1 full-size extra side, and the half a gallon of soda, it's actually a better bargain than the $28 you paid in 1972. So fast food is not that much more expensive or even a better deal than it was in 1972. And food is actually substantially cheaper. So why the fuck do these prices hurt so much? Well, that's this line right here, baby. That's this line right here. Everything around you has not gotten more expensive. You're being paid less. Period. End of discussion. It's that simple. You're being paid less. Median per capita income, because that is the average man working full-time all year long, $5,200. That's one person's income. $51,000 or $53,000, because this is for this wrong number here. The average is actually $5,200. So $53,000 versus median per capita income today, $35,000. It's actually $35,608. It changes almost daily because inflation changes, but it's less than $36,000. It is a little bit more than $35,000. So from 1959 to today, we've lost $18,000 in yearly income. Now you know why these prices feel so bad, why they feel like they're so expensive. It's not because the prices are higher. I mean, this is objective fact that you can't argue with. There are the 1959 prices, there is the inflation converted values, and there is today's prices for these things in this book. You're being paid less. That's what happened. Your wages have gone down. What is that? Over a third, over 30% since 1959. Well over 40% since 1968. In 1968, your median per capita was $7,700, which translates to just under $66,000. Why? Because each year productivity went up, so wages went up. That's the way it worked. From 1959 to 1968, productivity went up. So from 1959 to 1968, wages went up. And wages marched with productivity. Why? Because we had a 94% top tier tax rate. That's why. No business owner in their right mind, you'd have to lose your cotton picking mind to give 94% of your money to the government. So instead, they gave it to their business. They gave it to their employees. People got health care. People got benefits. People got pensions that don't exist anymore. People got upgraded workstation. People got company cars. People got benefits. The company hired more employees at better wages. They competed on wages because it's better than giving the government 94%. I might as well build a new factory, upgrade my computers, upgrade my vehicles, upgrade my tools, hire more people, expand my business, because that's going to give me a return. Because the choice is build my business, which will also build the community, which will also build the country, which will also build the welfare of everybody in the country. It's a side effect. Okay, that's what happens when you force businesses to reinvest into the society they operate under. But as soon as we got rid of the 94% top tier tax rate, the very first thing they did was shift all manufacturing over to China and start hoarding all the money. And you wonder why these numbers exist. By getting rid of the top tier tax rate, that's exactly what happened. Why wouldn't we shift all of our operations to China before this? Well, because we're going to make even more profit, which means we're going to pay even more money to the government. We're going to lose 94% of everything we make past $375,000. So if I'm a company and I'm converting that to today's dollars. The 94% top tier tax rate would only affect income above $375,000 if you converted from, 1968 to today. So, because remember, taxes are tiered. You don't pay 94% on everything you make. You only pay 94% on the top segment. 98% of the country doesn't make that much. So 98% of the country is never going to pay 94%. Today, at least. Back then, it was a little different, probably around 90%, 85%. So instead of eating a 94% tax on their profits, they spent the money rebuilding the entire goddamn country. The purpose of a 94% tax rate wasn't to collect 94% in tax from your businesses. The purpose of a 94% tax rate was to cause exactly what happened. To cause exactly what actually happened. To force the country to rebuild and reinvest in itself. Because otherwise you're giving me 94% if I'm the government. Okay? So of course companies didn't do that. We can see that. We literally created the middle class because of the 94% top tier tax rate. Why would I go and build a factory in China, lowering my costs, increasing my profits, just to hand those profits over to the government? That's stupid. Why would I do that? Instead, I'm going to buy better equipment, expand my business, pay my people better, give them benefits, because at least that is going to give me a return on that money. It's not going to be billions of dollars, but it's going to be better than handing the government 94%. So as soon as we got rid of that, of course, they did what only makes sense to any businessman. Oh yeah, now I can keep my money. Now I can make more money by shifting all my production over to China. Because I get to keep it now. I don't have to pay my people better. I don't have to reinvest in my local town or my state or county or country because I don't have to pay 94% tax. So I have no incentive to. My incentive is to keep all my money now. Stuff isn't more expensive. You're being paid less.